Welcome to my channel, where your adventure into the future starts right now. Step into a vibrant universe filled with groundbreaking technology, breathtaking alien landscapes, and exhilarating sci-fi narratives that challenge your imagination. From daring explorations of distant galaxies to haunting journeys through dystopian societies, we uncover the most captivating stories and innovative ideas that will shape the world of tomorrow. Subscribe today and join us on an incredible intergalactic voyage that promises to inspire and thrill. The first time the alien ships arrived, the sky was a silent expanse of stars, stretched thin above Earth's vast oceans and windswept plains. No one had ever expected it. There had been rumors, whispers among the conspiracy theorists and amateur astronomers, but nothing concrete. To the rest of humanity, space had been a distant frontier, a place where satellites orbited the Earth, where probes flew past distant planets and stars, but it wasn't a place that could touch the lives of ordinary people. No one expected the stars to open up and reveal their secrets, especially not the terrifying, unfathomable beings who came from them. The invaders arrived with a force that was as sudden as it was overwhelming. Their ships appeared in the sky one morning without warning, colossal, black behemoths that blotted out the sun and cast an eerie, unnatural shadow across the planet. These ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. They seemed to defy all logic, each one stretching for miles in length, their smooth obsidian-like surfaces gleaming with a malevolent reflective shine. Massive tendrils of energy radiated outward, crackling with power that sent pulses through the air itself. No one knew where they came from, who they were, or why they were here. But it didn't matter. The aliens made their intentions clear from the start. Humanity was caught off guard. The invasion unfolded with terrifying swiftness. The world's militaries, those that still functioned in this fractured age, rallied, sending their best and brightest into battle against the invaders. But it was hopeless. The aliens' technology was leagues beyond anything humanity had developed. The weapons they wielded tore through cities, annihilated military installations, and decimated entire populations in the blink of an eye. Humanity's greatest hopes of defense crumbled like dust under the weight of the alien onslaught. Yet, as the battle raged, one thing became apparent. The invaders weren't here to destroy the Earth, at least not entirely. They were here for something else. The humans, in their confusion and terror, slowly realized that they were not merely being wiped off the face of the planet. They were being gathered. In the midst of the chaos, entire cities were systematically scoured, their inhabitants swept up into large, hovering transport ships. No one knew how the aliens identified those who were taken, but the selections were cruelly efficient. Families were torn apart. The elderly, the children, the young, and the strong were all captured indiscriminately. Thousands upon thousands of human beings were hauled aboard the ships, locked in cages, and carted away like livestock to some unknown fate. And yet, there was something curious about the way these captured humans behaved, something that puzzled the alien invaders who had seen countless species fall to their might over the centuries. The humans, when brought aboard the alien ships, showed no fear, none. The aliens were used to fear. Fear was a universal language among the conquered. Every civilization they had encountered, no matter how advanced or primitive, had responded to their arrival with terror, panic, and submission. The alien conquerors fed on that fear. They thrived on it. Fear allowed them to control. Fear bent others to their will. Fear was a weapon, a tool they had used for countless millennia to shape the universe in their image. But the humans, they were different. The aliens had expected screams, desperate pleas for mercy, and trembling bodies begging for their lives. But instead, what they encountered were defiant gazes, stoic expressions, and the sheer, unwavering resolve of a species that simply refused to bow to terror. It started with the first group of humans brought aboard the ship. The aliens, curious about their captives, watched from the observation rooms. The humans were locked in a massive cavernous chamber surrounded by walls of gleaming alien metal. They huddled together at first, unsure of what was happening, but there was no frantic panic. There was no chaos. Just silence. A silence that felt oppressive to the alien observers. These humans weren't shivering with fear. They weren't begging for mercy. They were looking around, studying their surroundings, their eyes darting with curiosity and cautious intelligence. They were calculating. They were not broken. They were not defeated. The aliens had expected them to fall to their knees, to tremble in terror at the might of their captors. Instead, the humans exchanged quiet glances, as though silently agreeing on a shared understanding. They were not afraid. One of the aliens, their leader, a towering figure of sleek metallic limbs and dark glowing eyes, ordered one of the humans to be brought forward for interrogation. The human, a woman who appeared to be in her mid-20s, was escorted by two massive alien guards. The aliens were taken aback by the calmness in her stride. She moved as though the weight of the universe had not settled on her shoulders, as though she were simply walking down a hallway in her own home, not a captive of an extraterrestrial force. When she was placed before the alien commander, the interrogation began. The alien general, in his cold, emotionless voice, demanded to know why the humans weren't afraid, why they weren't begging for their lives. He could see the bloodshot eyes of the woman, her fatigue and confusion, but he could also see something else in her, an unspoken defiance, an unyielding will that confounded him. He repeated the question. Why do you not fear us? The woman didn't flinch. She looked the general in the eye, her expression resolute. Because we've seen worse, she replied simply. The words were a cold, sharp cut to the alien general. He paused, staring at her, unblinking. His mind churned, unable to comprehend the gravity of what had been said. Worse? What could be worse than the overwhelming power they held, the technology that could erase whole civilizations in an instant? But the woman wasn't done. We've survived wars, famine, and plague. We've built nations only to watch them crumble. We've lived with the constant threat of extinction, and we've stared death in the face more times than I can count. So, what makes you think that your fear will work on us? The general's head tilted slightly, as if considering this for the first time. It was a foreign concept to him. No civilization they had ever encountered had the strength to speak to them in such a way. The others in the room, the aliens who stood around watching, seemed equally perplexed. This wasn't the response they expected from a broken, terrified species. The human woman's words had planted a seed in the minds of the alien conquerors. The thought that the humans might not be afraid, might never be afraid, terrified them in a way they couldn't understand. The aliens had spent their entire existence relying on the collapse of fear to maintain their rule, to impose their will on others. What did it mean if this species could resist that pressure? What did it mean if humans could not be controlled by fear? But the terror of the unknown was just the beginning. The alien invaders soon began to discover something far more dangerous: the humans' complete disregard for the possibility of death. The captives showed no fear, not because they did not understand the gravity of their situation, but because they had something far deeper, something that no alien, with all their advanced technology and millennia of conquest, could comprehend. The humans had a history of survival. A history written in blood and bone, in the fires of war, in the cold silence of space, in the wreckage of broken civilizations. And through it all, they had developed a collective resilience, an unshakable core of endurance, and a refusal to yield. They knew death. They understood it. And they did not fear it. As days passed and more humans were brought aboard the alien ships, the pattern became clear. It wasn't just the woman from the first group. Every human they captured, no matter their age, gender, or background, exhibited the same behavior. They were calm. They were resolute. And if pushed, they would speak in the same quiet, defiant tone. The alien captors began to experiment, pushing the humans further, subjecting them to tests of pain, mental manipulation, and isolation, all to induce fear to break them. But the result was always the same. No matter how much the aliens tried to break their will, they couldn't. Humans endured. The alien conquerors found themselves increasingly unnerved. Their interrogation techniques, which had proven effective on hundreds of species, seemed to have no effect on the humans. They would attempt to break their spirits with physical and psychological torture, but instead of crumbling, the humans only grew more determined. The captives would smile, laugh, or speak quietly among themselves. Some even began to sing. The invaders, who had believed themselves masters of terror, found themselves disoriented and frustrated by this impenetrable resistance. It wasn't just a matter of defiance. The humans had something deeper, something more primal that the aliens hadn't accounted for. They had hope. Not just hope for themselves, but hope for their people. Even in captivity, even in the face of certain death, they believed they could turn the tide. They believed they could fight back. That belief in something greater than themselves terrified the alien invaders more than anything. The captors were left with an uncomfortable truth. The humans were not just resilient, they were dangerous. They had something that no alien, no matter how powerful, could defeat. They had hope, the kind of hope that could build revolutions, topple empires, and burn entire worlds to the ground. As the days turned to weeks, and weeks to months, the aliens began to realize that their conquest was not going as planned. The humans had not broken. They had not surrendered. And worse, they were slowly starting to unite, despite being held in separate cells. Despite the isolation, the humans communicated in ways the aliens could not understand. And in that unity, in that strength of will, the aliens saw something they had never encountered before. A species not so much resisting their domination, but preparing to fight back. And that was something the aliens could never fathom. A species that could endure, that could resist the conquering might of the stars themselves, and still rise again. That, the aliens learned, was humanity's greatest weapon, and it terrified them. The invaders had underestimated Earth, underestimated humans. And as the human captives stood tall, unbroken, their fearlessness burned into the alien conquerors' minds like a scar. The galaxy would soon learn that a species who refused to bow, refused to fear, and refused to die could not be conquered.